Hey everybody, welcome back to the Metal Mill 52 workshop. My name is Bill, this is my shop, and we're working on an LBSC Tich locomotive, and there's the groovy. You'll see these at the very end of this episode, me putting those decals on. So most of this episode will be dedicated to making some important final leak checks and adjustments to the boiler prior to final assembly. So without any further ado, I'll turn loose on that and tell you what, after this, the next episode should be the final assembly of all these parts and pieces. So hope you enjoy this episode this week. Thanks for being part of the journey. Of course, ask questions if you have any. If you don't have questions but you would like to encourage me, please give me a thumbs up. I do appreciate that, and it does keep me motivated to keep making these videos. So thanks, and have a great week, everybody. To do the leak test on the boiler, I'm going to use this same setup that I've used for other purposes before, but I'm going to need to make a little adapter here to put on for the 5/16 inch 32 thread. That is the pressure gauge, or excuse me, the pressure valve. So I've got a piece chucked up in the lathe, piece of brass chucked up in the lathe over here, piece of 1/2 inch hexagonal brass, and it's already tapped happily, a compatible pattern, so it'll fit inside there. All I need to do is turn this part down to 5/16 and then thread it by 32 TPI. So I've got a 32 TPI 5/16 32 die in the tailstock die holder. Alright, well, I've turned down a small portion of it to 5/16 inch diameter and filed it smooth. I put a little edge there to make it start. Also, I don't know if you can see it or not, but let me hold something underneath there. You can see there's a little undercut, so the threads will have a place to stop, and a flat spot here that'll make a nice seal, hopefully, for the dome. And then I just put a little round section in there. I didn't need the whole thing to be threaded, so just thought that looked good. And the tailstock die holder did a very nice job, quick work, of putting the threads on the little adapter. So now it's just a matter of cleaning it all up and getting it ready to use. Here's the 5/16 32 die that we just used a minute ago to help make the adapter. And put it back where it belongs. Got this nice little set. Bought it from a British supplier several years ago. I'm sorry I can't remember the name of it, but I just watched a short that Julia had about organizing her shop, and I too like the Dymo label makers. I was really fortunate to get several years ago. I bought this toolbox used from a mechanic, and I've collected. I love the drawers here because I can use it for the different things and label it, keep them all handy. Okay, here we go. This is the finished adapter. Really excited to have this. This will make it easy to test the boiler, and probably can use this for other future uses as well. So the only thing left to do is to got some pipe tape here, Teflon tape. I'll wrap that up good, seal this, put it together, and I've also got a little old medicine bottle I can mark and save, so I know exactly what that adapter is for. I'll put it with my Tich gear. So one more step, getting ready, getting closer to being able to test the boiler for leaks. So here's the test rig. I thought I'd show this. Got it all set up, and then down the air, rather than have a compressor going, got this old air conditioning refill tank that I've had this thing forever, as you can tell by looking at it. And I put this little adapter on here so it uses, like they call it, a spare air tank kit, but it's really handy for stuff like this. So in case you're worried about the pressure, there's what, maybe 20 psi in there or something like that right now. Pretty low. And what's nice about this, once you fill it up, you can turn this off, turn the air off so it doesn't leak. And I can feel it leaking around the little stem there, so it's kind of getting worn out on me. But here I've got the valve. Let me crack it a little bit. You can see it's pretty gentle airflow, but just enough that it should be measurable and I should be able to test for leaks in the boiler before we reassemble it. First thing I'm going to do for steam testing is to take off the pressure relief valve, and I made the fitting. That wasn't even that tight. I made the fitting to go in there, so we'll take this off. I'll just leave this washer handy, and screw the fitting in. Alright, here we go. We got it set up with a little adapter in there. I left the brass ring in, and I've got a paintbrush and some soapy water here that I'm going to use to look for air bubbles. So let me get the air turned on here. I'll bring you back when we're ready to test. The air in there, I got about 10 psi in, and you'll hear a little hissing. There is a bubbling coming from the blower line. I need to work on that a little bit. The main thing I was worried about, and the reason I wanted to do this test, was to see if the superheater connection, if that was all okay, and it does seem fine. I don't feel any extra air coming out of there. I do feel it coming out for sure out of the blower line, but that's an easy fix. So that's what I'm using the soapy water on here for. I don't see any bubbles blowing. So let me put it on the blower itself. Yeah, I don't know if that'll show up on there, but right here where the blower comes to send air out, to the exhaust, there's some coming out of there. Look a little bit out of the snifter line. Not bad though. That's looking pretty good. I don't see any big bubbles or anything. I think it's just the main thing on the front end is working on this connector right here, which is just a little bit. That's not anything unusual. Like I said, the main thing I was worried about was up here. I don't see anything on the clacks. That's good news. No bubbles coming up out of there. And check the line to the pressure gauge. No bubbles there. The line to the blower, none. And there is air coming out. When I take my finger off, if you can see this or not, I'll take my finger off here. This shouldn't be happening. This is the steam line to the whistle, and it shouldn't have any air coming out of it with not depressing the whistle lever though. Oh, you can't hear it now. So anyway, I'm gonna reposition here, get ready. We'll test all the stuff on the back. All right, I put the soapy water around a bunch of the fittings and introduced a little air. Got my finger on this one. So you can see right there, that's showing that there's air leaks there. Right here, the supply line to the steam pressure gauge. And then right here, the supply. I mean, the good news is there's flow, but going to the blower line, so that's loose. I need to tighten that up again. The real good news, there's well, there's a little leaking around the throttle. I need to pack that, but nothing around the sight gauge. So pretty excited about that. So these things are easy. I'm not worried about them. That a lot of the time, just tightening those up a little bit will do it. Matter of fact, there's not a whole lot else you can do. So I'll put a little attention on those when I get ready for the final fitting. Let's see, up here, a little bit of bubbling there too. Not a huge surprise. So it's that and some packing around there, around the back. And that you can hear the flow going from that's the steam supply line there. Surprising. I will definitely need to look at this top turret a little bit, because it really shouldn't have that much, shouldn't have any flow to that unless this is depressed. So I don't know if it's sticking up or what. It's somehow that maybe the spring is not strong enough on the ball. It's not making a good enough seat. So we'll take that apart. But all the rest of this, I'm pretty excited about this. Most especially that the things on the front that'll be inside the smoke box, they seem to be okay. So pretty good pre-test. This stuff can all be addressed later. this having the things on the front work out okay, that tells me that I'm okay to reassemble with the smoke box and basically reassemble the locomotive. I'm going to take all this stuff off anyway before I start the reassembly. I say all of it, everything from the steam turret, all these pieces, I'll take them off before I reassemble, just so I don't hurt them. I'm going to leave the sight gauge there, and of course I'll leave the throttle in, but I can add a little extra packing to the regulator. So yay, test complete. Follow up to the leak test. What I've done, I took the front blower line off and I just cleaned around. I made it easier for the nut to rotate. I realized that it wasn't the simplest or the smoothest connection there. So I've replaced it, retightened it very snug, and I think that's all I need to do. There was no leaks on the snifter at all, and no leaks around here, which the superheater and regulator stuff. So that's the main thing I was worried about anyway, for screwing the smoke box back in place and getting it put back together. Regarding the rear pieces, I'm kind of embarrassed that I had this thing this loose to do the test, because I took it off and it was almost about 1/8 of a turn loose here, and similarly here. So I did the same thing. I cleaned up both these connections and tightened this one up. Used some pliers and a wrench, proper wrench, to hold it steady. So that's all tight and good to go. Same thing for the blower line. Cleaned that all off. You can see where I used a little bit of sandpaper and made it so that these turn smoother, and cleaned off any dirt from the connection ends. So I think we're good to go there. Really, the only other things I got to do, I'll put a little packing around the regulator valve. I'll do that just now, and then I need to think through the steam whistle valve here. You can tell the spring is not super strong there. I'm going to have to add a stronger spring or something like that to engage that ball. So we'll play with that a little bit. I'll bring you back and discuss the fix that I decide on for that. Took the end off of the top turret there. You can see the little hollowed out portion it has for the spring to go in, and the ball is in there. So this was the original spring that I had in there, and then I have a selection of stainless steel springs that are 1/8 inch diameter and different spring rates and hardness, so to speak. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a big swing at it, try to put in 2 of these, the large stainless ones, back to back. If that's too much or doesn't compress, then I can put in a large and a small one from the package here. Those are 1/8 inch by 1/4 inch. These are about 5/16 inch long. So basically what I'm saying is I'll mix and match a little bit. I can even cut off if need be. I can shorten one of these, but I'm going to adjust the springs there. And I've got some extra graphite packing over there too for the regulator. So I'll attend to these off camera and bring you back when I've got the adjustments. All right, I tried a couple of the obvious combinations of springs, and that didn't work. So let me show you what the ball looks like down in there. Let's see if it shows up on the camera. Hopefully the light's not good in here. There we go. You can see it in there, and there's plenty of throw, so to speak, with the whistle valve. So it's just a matter of getting it set just right with the amount of springs. So what I did was I cut one of them in 2 pieces, so that'll give me a couple more options. I'll fiddle with it off camera and bring you back when I have it resolved. Short side note, I played around with a bunch of different spring and even put in a 3/16 inch ball bearing in there. The problem is I soon realized it's not really on the spring end, it's with the actuation, the little lever arm, and how it hits the rod that comes out. Like, let me put the rod in here, in there, and it seats on the ball, and you probably can't see this much, but it goes in just fine. I mean, I'm depressing it a good 1/8 of an inch, so that's not the issue. I think the issue is the little stainless rod here was getting caught up on the way the little tomahawk shape is on the bottom of the arm. So I'm going to take this out of the arm here, take the arm out of its housing, and then see if I can refine that a little bit, give it a little bit better spot to land on for the actual for the actual rod. Here's what I'm talking about. The little rod was basically getting, it was hitting the wrong spot there. You can see a little shiny spot that's closer to the hole, and so it was occasionally it was not moving smoothly. It was getting a little bit hung up there. So basically going to take and file this, give it a lot larger flat spot there for its pivoting. I marked out the little spot that I need to file out. You can see just kind of that little 45-degree angle there. Okay, here's the revised part. Got a nice flat landing spot there. Smooth it all off. I still have a little bit of a dog leg to provide the spacing. So we'll put this back together and see if that works now. These little small files are real handy for this. That's the solution. That's really got it. Watch this nice spring action now. There we go. I'm very confident that this will be fine now. We'll get the action that we need for the whistle valve. So I'll save all these little extra springs. I'll put them in my little Tich repair kit. But that's good to go. Now we put a little packing in the regulator. Graphited yarn to add into the regulator. I took the screw off and the handle and then the packing gland there. So I'll pack at least this much, maybe a couple of pieces like this, and we should be good to go. Got it installed. I did remember one thing that on the Keith Appleton tip was to take a little steam oil. So here's my little excess steam oil bucket that I use for the filler spout and all to keep handy for my Allen Mogul. So I just dipped that teeny bit of graphited yarn in the steam oil, wrapped it around, and now I've reinstalled the packing gland. I'll tighten that up just a wee bit, put the handle and the nut back on, and I think we're going to be good to go. It's all back together now, looking neat and tidy. And watch this nice spring action here on the whistle valve. That's what we needed. I didn't realize, but that adjustment to the actual little arm that did the trick. So I think we're good to go. I'll plan to put this thing all back together, and we'll see. I don't know if this, I may just make this the next to the last episode for this project. We'll see. But I'm pretty excited about the progress. Notes before I head in for the evening. I just put the little screws, you can see the little brass screws here that hold the smoke box onto the front of the boiler, and they're all good to go. And this is what everything looks like inside here with the snifter. One thing is kind of cool, as I was putting the smoke box back in place, you know, I had the snifter valve already attached to its line, and it just clicked right in place. It was pretty awesome. Just doop. Heard a nice clicking noise, and the thing was right there. So let me set this down. Well on its way to getting reassembled. Really excited about this, and I will keep you posted as we move on. Of how well the leak tests went, I thought I would go ahead and apply these beautiful decals. You know, I had obtained a set of decals originally that were slightly smaller. I'll show you in a second to contrast. But I didn't think they would look good. They were a little bit too small. So I looked on eBay and I found an eBay seller called Screen Print Digital. Their business name is Screen Print Design and Print, and they're in England. But they're a prominent eBay seller. You'll be able to find them easily. So I sent them a message and I told them I needed one that was about 25 millimeters square or 1 inch square. And they came up with these beautiful, larger, and they're matched pairs as well. So, you know, this lion over the wheel can be facing forward on the left-hand tank. So I made this little outline for it to put in there. I'll put the camera down and apply the decal now, and then I'll bring you back and show you what the finished product looks like. Having a little window there was handy so I could make sure it's oriented correctly and level with the tank. Let me show you. I'll take this template off and show you what it looks like in a second. Wow, look at that. How beautiful is that? These things are great. Thank you so much, Screen Print Digital. It came out so nice. And like I said, it's a handed pair, so the lion is facing forward in both examples. Show you one more thing is the original ones I had bought also from an eBay seller. Also a very nice looking decal, but the problem is these have a white background, so if I wanted to have it look like that and let the paint show through, I would have to trim all the way around the lion's tail and body and in between the lion's body and the wheel, and that would have been a lot of work. Plus, these were just a teeny bit smaller, as you can see. So, I mean, they would have worked, but it wouldn't look anything like that. I mean, that is really, really nice looking. So thank you again, Screen Print Digital. I told them that I was building an LBSC Tich and a live steam locomotive, and they were familiar with it, and the proprietor said that they would add a little bit of extra like clear coat on the top to make it a little more durable. And they did send me, for a very reasonable price, they sent me a set of 6 of these, so I've got spares in case these get ruined. But that is just too cool. Thank you again, Screen Print Digital.